Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I'm the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Joining me today, good friend, longtime co-host with me on the Polite Society podcast. And overall, if you don't see Rob Morse's stuff on Second Amendment media sites, you're not looking hard enough. The guy writes more than any sane person should, and it goes out everywhere. So if you don't see Rob Morse's stuff, keep looking. It's usually incredibly good stuff. He's a very deep thinker, and I read his stuff all the time. Rob, thanks for coming along today, man.
My pleasure, Paul. Thank you for inviting me.
Getting social media hooked up. As I do that, I want to remind everybody that if you are watching on the Polite Society Podcast Facebook or YouTube page, go ahead and comment on those videos. We'll get those comments up, get them on the air. As long as you're talking about what we're talking about or have talked about, we'll get them up and we'll discuss them. If you're watching us anywhere else, go to Twitter, tweet with the hashtag #TheBullet. And one more thing as we're getting ready to go here, it doesn't matter where you're watching. Please go to Rumble, look for my name, Paul Lathrop, and you will see a ton of these Bullets and Polite Society podcasts. And please subscribe. Once I hit 25 subscribers, Rumble will let me go live rather than uploading after everything is complete. So you could watch on Rumble live if you chose. And honestly, that's simply because Facebook and YouTube are shutting so many pro-gun and putting so many... I can't handle a live firearm and put a magazine in it. That's some of the new restrictions we have. There's so many things that YouTube and Facebook are just looking to kill pro-gun channels for that I'm trying to establish Rumble. Anyway, let's get started, Rob.
Do you want me to jump into the SAF release, or do you want to carry it?
Let me read this one to start with, and then we'll have you take the next story. This is out of our main offices in Bellevue. What appears to have been a blatant effort by the state of Illinois to go judge shopping in an effort to transfer several federal lawsuits challenging new state law banning so-called assault weapons and their magazines has backfired, the Second Amendment Foundation said today. Our president, Alan Gottlieb, said, "Our lawsuit and others have actually all been transferred to a very fair-minded judge. We anticipated the cases could eventually be consolidated, but instead of winding up with a judge who the state hoped would be unfavorable to Second Amendment issues, I believe we now have an unbiased judge." I'm going to stop there. You can go to the SAF website to go ahead and get all of that press release, but basically what has happened is the state specifically requested that all the cases be consolidated under an Obama-appointed judge. And because the tradition is the oldest lawsuit, if you're going to combine lawsuits, the oldest one is what they get combined into. We were the very first for this particular set of lawsuits. We got a Trump-appointed judge, and all the lawsuits, thankfully, according to tradition, are being consolidated with that Trump-appointed judge, who, as Alan Gottlieb said, is very fair in their thoughts towards the Second Amendment. Rob, what do you think, man?
Well, Illinois went big. They created enormous gun-free... They basically pulled a New York. Your car, again, was a gun-free zone. The public roads, we'll get to, if we get to New Jersey did this too. They said, roads are government property, therefore we can regulate them, therefore we'll tell you you can't have a firearm there. Go, wait a minute, that's public. You have the right to carry in public. We didn't mean you had to only carry in your own driveway. So it's so egregious, it's probably going to be slapped down, if not by the first judge who sees it, then by some appellate judge. Now we'll play a series of games of leapfrog through various appeals until one side goes, if I lose here, we're eager for it to get to the Supreme Court.
We are.
They want to keep it at the lowest level as long as they win. So it's a game of checkers, maybe chess.
Well, it's certainly not 3D chess, but it is maybe a game of chess, and like you said, definitely at least a game of checkers. And we won this one. Let's not make a mistake. This is a win for the Second Amendment in that we get a fair-minded judge to start with. It is much easier to answer an appeal by the state to an appellate court than it is to appeal it yourself to an appellate court.
Oh, what we mean here by fair includes a number of issues. It might mean fair rules of evidence. Judge, common use is 20. If this firearm is as common as F-150 pickup trucks, it's in common use. Okay. By the way, we've had that argument. I'm not making this up. The other might be, Judge, people are held at risk for breaking the law today. Please issue a temporary restraining order. This is infringing our rights every minute. And a fair-minded judge would say, yeah, this is a human right. Yes, that is an infringement. Let me stop that now. Rather than wait, I believe it was the Second Circuit that said, yeah, that could be true, but we'll wait till the case is decided in a couple years. No. Okay.
Yeah, and you just reminded me, we had a case, here a couple weeks ago, where the Supreme Court had the option to hear New York's new concealed carry law. They had a chance to hear that. They declined. They sent it back to, I believe it's the Second Circuit is New York.
Right.
And they said to that specific circuit court, expedite this, get it done.
Right.
And I don't think many people want to, at least in the legal circles, if the Supreme Court says do something quickly, I would expect them to do it quickly.
And again, quickly for a fair-minded judge and I'm biased against the judge who said that he was getting a series of 100-plus page rulings by subordinate courts, and then he'd write a forward or a 4-sentence rebuttal. Go, excuse me? What part? You need to provide guidance to inferior courts. Tell them why they are wrong. When they give you 100 pages, you need to give them more than a sentence.
Yes. Absolutely. Next one, Rob. You are a Louisiana guy. However,
Am now.
you used to be a California guy.
More recently than you.
Yeah.
Many, shall I read it?
Go for it.
Many Californians feel perplexed in the wake of several mass shootings that they endured in January. 2 by senior citizens who target dozens of innocents. They killed at least 18 people. Only the bravery of an Alhambra dance hall manager prevented the carnage from becoming much, much worse. At least one gun that was used in the mass murders was illegal in California. And it apparently had a homemade suppressor on it. This was wielded by a 72-year-old man who murdered people at a dance hall when he was disarmed, when he came to another dance hall ballroom. And then when the police found him and surrounded him, he shot himself.
Yep.
What this article says, and it's out of the Valley News Organization, it said, guns and magazines like this are undetected until they're used in serious crimes. So what we should do is use the border protection stations that look for fruit contraband.
Yep.
And have them search every car. Okay, this is a editor who doesn't know very much. Those fruit contraband stations were set up because there were essentially monopoly cartels. You couldn't import oranges into California. Go figure. We should get rid of that. That's why if fruit is expensive in California, something is seriously wrong. I've passed through those stations many, many times. Now, by the way, they are not uniform, meaning they are not at every road leading into California. just the major roads that major trucking firms would use.
Yeah, I-15,
So
I-15, I-10, I-8, and there are some others. Yeah, 80, of course, up north. But and interestingly, 80s is combined with the truck weigh station. So, but here's the thing. Here's the thing with this editor doesn't take into account. There's such a thing called the Fourth Amendment against you cannot just search somebody because you want to search them because they're going from one state to another. That doesn't give you the right to search their vehicle. Oh, could you imagine the drug arrests they'd have?
Well, here's what's infuriating to me. If we spoke to this editor face to face and said, did prohibition work for alcohol? He'd go, oh, no. Mm-hmm. Did it work for drugs? No. Your southern border is wide open and you have millions, if not tens of millions, of illegal aliens in your state. So the same cartels that move millions of people across your border, you're telling me you're going to stop them from moving a few ounces of lead and steel?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're smoking some of those drugs that you think. Anyway, so this is just a prohibitionist argument, Paul.
It is. And let's also go back. This has been probably a year and a half, 2 years, maybe even longer than that. Is a high-ranking member of the state Senate was arrested, tried, and convicted for bringing illegal guns and hand grenades into the state. So look at your state senators. Look at your state assemblymen. Look at your government employees. They're bringing this stuff in.
A state senator who had gotten an award. I think he's out of San Francisco. Gotten an award for his gun control measures. Mm-hmm. Was trying to bring RPGs in. Was he trying to export them to gangs or import them to gangs?
He was trying to import them for gangs.
Yeah. So, and by the way, he wants to run for Senate again.
Of course he does. And I would imagine in California they're going to find a way to let him do it, too.
Oh, of course.
Let me get some comments in because we've gotten a bunch of them.
Let's see. What do we got?
I want to start with, looks like, George, thank you for letting me know. He says, looks like you already have 25 followers on Rumble, Paul. Very cool. I just hadn't checked today. He also says, Obama has a lot to answer for. And again, Rob, I don't know. Between Fast and Furious and the fallout that continues to happen for that, I don't know that he or Eric Holder ever will. I think it's far enough in the past. We kind of lost our chance when we had it at the beginning of the Trump's administration.
Well, remember we had all those rhinos in office.
Yeah.
There was a time when, what was his name? Paul Ryan was the Speaker of the House. And
became a vice presidential nominee for Romney.
Candidate. And now we look at Ryan and Romney and go, boy, did our team stink. It's a family show. I'm trying to keep you on the air, buddy. You owe me a beer.
You bet.
Wow. And then we had the opportunity, and Ryan was, put up or shut up. How much will your special interests pay? That's the legislation that was passed.
Yeah. George also says, I thought the fruit inspection stations were originally set up to intimidate Okies during the Great Depression. I thought it was for fruit flies, and I thought it came through in the 70s, but I
believe you, George. California's like that.
Let's see here. Larry over on the Facebook side says the same thing exists in prisons. The guards bring in the drugs.
Right.
One more here.
I remember a friend of mine was a prison guard. Their union fought against inspecting the guards as they came into the prison. It reminds me of the old, not Teamsters, longshoremen. He said, "Yeah, it's part of our pay to steal stuff off the ships." That's why they hated containerized cargo.
Yeah, because it's harder to get into a secured container than just grabbing something that sits in.
Right.
Yeah. Americans and veterans are living in the streets, but they house the illegals?
Yeah. Go look at New York City if you want the latest examples.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And that's why, and this is not guns, but I'm going to, as long as I've got you on the air, I want to take a little bit of a left turn, Rob. And good on Florida Governor DeSantis and the Texas governor, and I wish I could remember his name off the top of my head, for sending illegals to places like Washington, D.C., New York City, and other places that are
Colorado.
Self-proclaimed sanctuary cities, counties, states. If you want them so bad, take them.
That is a left turn onto a different topic. I admire them too. They said, "Yeah, if this is a good idea, here, you have some."
Yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get back on track. I'm going to take this next one. Buried at the bottom of Georgia's Second Amendment agenda is a totally unsexy and downright obscure item about restoring common law definition of assault. But it thrilled the heck out of a bunch of lawyers that the writer talked to last week, from a former Supreme Court of Georgia justice to the Georgia Association of Criminal Defense Lawyers. The issue that Georgia is in a small minority of states where the definition of assault does not depend on a specific criminal intent, just on someone in viewing range being scared of being hurt by what you're doing. That means a mistake, misunderstanding, or legally justified threat can put someone on the hook for hard time crimes, just like aggravated assault and even felony murder. I'm going to go ahead and grab that link, and I'm going to put it in the comments for both the
Great.
Facebook and YouTube, because it's a really important article. I hope you will all go look at it. But
Well, okay, and here's the issue. We've seen mobsters intimidate people. Did he threaten you? Oh yeah, what did he say? Nice store I have here. Shame if anything happened to it. Okay, where's the threat? Because believe me, after a hurricane down here, a lot of that was going around. How'd you do? Was there any damage? Oh, you're so lucky. So the Georgia law is written in such a way that it's subjective. Is the reason you gave this guy money because you were intimidated? Oh yeah. Well, he denies that he ever threatened you at all. So here we go. The disadvantage of that is, if you're in an open carry state, but he had a gun.
Yep, that's exactly where, and Georgia is.
Right. And now you've got a sheriff going, so he had a gun? Where was it? Did he take it out of his holster? Did he threaten you? So he ordered a cheeseburger and he's sitting at a counter. Is he choking on the cheeseburger? Why are we involved?
Keep in mind, Georgia also has the Atlanta PD. And the Atlanta PD may not be as good as the southern Georgia, where it's mostly rural, mostly agricultural sheriffs, where that would be exactly okay. So he's got a gun, and
right.
You may not get that out of the Atlanta PD. Somebody's got a gun and they're in a restaurant, we'll be right there.
Right. Well, I have a firm grasp of the obvious. Police chiefs are appointed by mayors and city councils. They are a political position. Sheriffs are elected.
Yes. Get this one up here too, and going back to our last story, C&T Designs and Arms says, that's funny because the government does this to us all the time. You like that gun? $200 or you go to prison.
Right. Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Let's talk about Virginia, man. You want to take this one?
I do. A Democrat out of Fairfax, Virginia, pitched a proposed law that would require gun owners to lock up their firearms, okay, and ammunition if there are children in the home. This guy goes through the dog and pony, putting his finger against a biometric safe in the podium saying, this should be a law. Why are you voting against it? Don't you believe in safety and firearm safety? What I noticed he didn't do is say, and if you buy it, we're going to reimburse you.
Yeah.
Or a tax credit. Better yet, a voucher system. It's, quote, it's a pretty simple thing to do, Democrat Simon said. I will point out that we have seatbelt laws, we have bicycle helmet laws, we have life jacket laws, all designed to protect children, close quote. Okay, I just wrote about this morning, Paul.
Mm-hmm.
When are our children old enough that they're always part of our safety plan? When are they part of the defense? 15? 14? 13?
We had on, and you weren't able to join us for Polite Society, but we had on Polite Society last night a 16-year-old young man happened to know where mom's gun was stored, and when somebody started coming in the door, he retreated, he grabbed mom's handgun, and he was standing in a separate area of the house, but as soon as guy made it into the house, 16-year-old loaded gun, racked a slide, pointed it at bad guy, and bad guy retreated quickly.
I read that interview, or I watched that interview. Did you get a chance to actually see the interview, Paul?
No, I have not.
This kid was so cool and calm. You go, I want this guy to be in some really high-stress job when he grows up, because he's all, it was pretty scary, but let's be honest, it would have been a whole different thing if he'd kept gumming and I had to shoot. So the bad guy, he goes, I hope this isn't a delivery guy. The bad guy opens the screen door, he loads the pistol. The guy opens the front door, he racks the slide. The guy comes through the door, he raises it up. The guy runs away, he lowers the pistol and calls mom and goes, Mom, tell me you didn't have a delivery planned. Tell me you didn't have friends that were going to come over and not knock. So, by the way, mom then got a video camera for the house because she's all, oh my gosh, somebody broke in while my son's home. Very, very mature young man for his age.
Yes, I was very impressed when we were talking about that one. The only thing I would say is, and I said this last night, I would rather mom have at least taken him through familiarization with that firearm. Simply because if it comes out, I want the magazine in there, I want the slide racked, I want your finger off the trigger and down at low ready. I don't want you to have to do all this while a guy may be coming into the house.
Well, and I talked about it with one of the instructors that I have on my podcast this morning, Paul. That's sort of the end of the discussion. Rather, we're jumping all the way to the end.
Yep.
Okay, your children have gone through your security drills. Hi, what do we do if there's an intruder? Get in the safe room, lock the door, turn on the lights, get behind the bed, get the flashlight and the phone, and if there's an adult there, grab a firearm. Okay, they've got that. Now that they're 14, 15, okay, you are going to a firearm safety class. Just like we don't let them drive until they've taken some safety training. And the great news is, it's hard to watch your kids learn to drive. You're a driving instructor, Paul. You've seen this. Okay, you need the review. Look, everybody will learn something in a firearm safety review class. And you get to notice if your son's paying attention or your daughter. And if they're not, if they're more interested in their phone, then maybe they're not ready yet.
I need to get 2 comments in here real quick, and we're getting down towards the bottom of the hour, but let me get, that one was already up. When they know right from wrong, for example, that stove is hot, don't touch. Teach them young to save lives. That's from Carrie is one of our new people on Sisters in Arms, a firearm store. Yeah, she's one of the new people that are one of our regulars on Polite Society podcast. Carrie, thanks for chiming in. And gun websites, I love this comment. Safety with guns, not safety from guns.
Perfect. Well, and let's even back up. Should my child defend themselves? Wait, let's back up. At somewhere between the age of 4 and 7, did they have the Eddie Eagle treatment? Do they know what to do when they're at someone else's home and they view an unsecured firearm?
Right.
Come on, it's a series of stepping stones. It doesn't go from ignorance to concealed carry. There's a lot of gradations in between.
Rob, I'm going to say I didn't go from not being not owning a handgun to concealed carry. It wasn't one step for me.
No. And so, nor should it be.
No, and so it certainly shouldn't be for our children. It needs to be a process, just like you said with learning to drive a car, or going and getting your very first job. There's a learning process, and there are steps you need to go through. So absolutely, start very young, like Carrie Ann said, when they are old enough to know, hey, don't touch the stove, that's hot, that'll hurt you. Then you can start introducing the very basic steps of safety in the home and home protection.
Paul, do you remember, was it 2 years ago when there was this flood of new gun owners, and we ran a series of safety lectures where we invited instructors onto, it wasn't even the PSP, there were so many, we were doing it a couple times a week.
There are, and we should have done a few more. There are 97 of them, and we called it Guns 101. We should have done 101 of them. You can search for them on Polite Society Podcast YouTube page.
But the thing that's critical about this, and by the way, I give away gun safes all the time. So in practice, I'm with this legislator. In legislation, not so much. We have lots of people who have a gun who did not come up through the gun culture. They're welcome, but you didn't grow up with Eddie Eagle. You didn't grow up with safe firearms handling. And now you not only want to be safe for you, but for your entire family.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a big responsibility.
And let me also say the other reason this is bad information is a biometric safe where you use your fingerprint to activate the safe is operated electrically one of two ways. It's either battery, and show me a battery that's never failed, or it's electrical on a larger safe. And quite often, if there's a bad guy looking to break into your house, whether or not he knows you're there, he's going to try to disable electricity so that your security system shuts off.
Right.
So
where I am, hurricanes are a big deal.
Yes. And hurricanes, quite often, power goes out, and so just the Mother Nature takes care of that for them. Rob, we are right down at the bottom of the hour. On the way out the door, I need to ask you to plug Self-Defense Gun Stories, plug your blog, and anything else you want to talk about, man.
Well, thank you. I do host the Self-Defense Gun Stories podcast. It comes out once a week. We try to keep it right around 20 minutes. And I'm going to plug the Polite Society podcast that Paul and I am a co-host with Paul. That's longer format, 90 minutes. My blog is at slowfacts.wordpress.com. I try and get things there about 2-3 times a week. I think I've got almost 2,000 articles. My writing is often picked up and carried at AMOLand, where I get to write the Armed Citizens columns.
All right, very cool. On my end, I'm going to say that's going to do it for us today. Please do come join me again, 5 p.m. Central Time tomorrow, and we may be live on Rumble. Tomorrow is Dan Wass is going to be our commentator. I always have a great time talking with Dan as well. But we're going to shut it down for today. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next